Welcome back to Crazy X Podcast. This time, Roger and I watched Season 1, Episode 10, I'm Back at Camp with Josh. As always, we'll start off with a synopsis.
My cat has interrupted the synopsis to literally walk up in Chelsea's face and decide that he needed some cat love.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you could be part of this synopsis, Chinook.
He is now purring over the microphone.
And, yep. Oh, yeah, this is great. Great times. I'm glad that you all are part of this, too. Rebecca finagles her way into joining Josh at a camp for underprivileged teens so that she can recapture the magic of their high school romance. Josh, who is feeling discouraged by Valencia, is delighted to find that Rebecca believes in him, resulting in a kiss on the cheek, and gives him courage to stand up to Valencia. Meanwhile, Darryl bonds with White Josh and is left feeling confused from an ambiguous kiss on the cheek of his own. Finally, Greg breaks up with Heather when things get too serious, but he realizes he needs to overcome his commitment phobia, and they get back together. Roger, what do you think of this episode?
I liked it. I mean, there are things I don't like. You can probably guess who I didn't like them from. There was a decent amount of growth here from all of the characters besides Rebecca.
Yeah, I agree. But I loved this episode because it was so funny. There are so many jokes in this episode. Small and big. Like, they're everywhere. I wrote down so many of them. I can't wait to talk about them.
Well, and they're funny, like, the different types of jokes. They're situationally funny. There's some visual gags. There's some good lines. Like, yeah, this brought the funny. No, I agree with that. Yep. Where do you want to start?
Honestly, most of my notes are just funny jokes from the episode.
Did you just write down funny jokes? All right.
So I'll let you decide where you would like to start.
Great. Okay. As you know, I do like and dislike.
Yeah, that's how I did it too.
Great. I didn't know if you had made that a permanent fixture.
It's permanent now. It's happening.
Paula's ability to scheme on the fly.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
This woman senses an opportunity like a bloodhound and just goes for it and just nails it out of the park.
Also, Paula, during this conversation, it just, like, comes up with this whole thing about, like, Rebecca sneaking into Josh's bed, and she's like, it's worked for me, like, 10 times. And I'm like, it did? What happened?
I feel like I want more context, but also, like, not that surprising to me that if a woman randomly shows up naked in your bed, a decent amount of guys are going to be like, well, sure.
That's true. Yeah, Paula...
Hopefully these were not married men.
It's true. Paula was excellent in this episode. She also had a really good line that I could not stop thinking about. When she's, like, packing Rebecca's bag, which is sort of weird. We have that weird, like, mom dynamic happening again. She says, I had a rash one time, almost made me infertile. Unfortunately, it did not.
I was sitting there like, oh, that's so... Oh.
Yeah.
Rebecca hates her life. Or, Paula hates her life.
Paula hates her life. But she's kind of loving her life right now on a surface level because Rebecca is fully leaning into what Paula wants to focus on right now.
Is this, so they said, like, finally enough of denial, is this Rebecca admitting now that she came here for Josh?
She still hasn't directly said that, but she did say that she loves Joshua Felix Chan many, many times.
Which is kind of uncomfortable when he was, like, going to the boba tea place.
I know, he could have heard them. Anyone could have heard them. Anyone. Valencia could have been there.
Yeah, and also called her Valencia.
She doesn't usually do it to other people. It's only Rebecca. Like, I feel like Paula knows that it would reveal some sort of subterfuge if she was, like, being rude about Valencia's name.
So she intentionally makes it clear that she does know her name.
Yeah.
Paula's good.
Paula is always on. She knows what she's doing.
She's definitely organized evil.
Yeah. I also want to talk about Darryl.
Of course.
I love all of the Darryl here. Well, actually, starting that with so there's this, I guess it's the B plot, maybe?
I call it the B plot,
yeah. It actually starts with Greg. Yes. Talking to Joe and Hector about his concern. He's terrified of commitment. He's a commitment phobe. Heather doesn't even, like, she's just like, hey, you're cool, I like you, we should we should be, like, officially dating. She didn't ask to move in. She didn't ask for, like, and she just asked to be dating, essentially.
Yeah. She said, I stopped seeing other people, and that is what ultimately freaked him out.
Yep. It even freaked him out before she asked him to stop seeing if he was
willing. She didn't even say, we need to be exclusive. He's just like, oh, I'm kind of, okay. I want to.
Yeah. And why Joe and Hector in that scene are so good.
That was amazing.
They're just, well, I love, because do men usually talk about things like this?
I don't know if I can explain this question to you in a way that's going to make sense to you. Yes, but not like this.
Okay.
So this, to me, is the way that women believe men should be.
Okay.
Like, this is like every woman's like fantasy, like, oh, we're going to have a deep conversation about like the psychological issues about why you have a commitment thing. Whereas men would be like, yeah, it would be more, don't you like her? What's the issue? Like, it'd be much more surface level, and it would be more to the point, like, why is this a problem?
Yeah.
Which would be less funny on a TV show, admittedly.
This, and something we actually haven't talked about before, is that this show is written by, it's so hard, her name, it's like, it's almost like it's like alliteration, but not quite. Rachel Bloom, Rebecca Bunch. This show...
Oh, I never made the RB connection there.
This show is written by Rebecca Bloom and the man, Adam Schlesinger.
May rest in peace. Yeah.
Schlesinger. Wow. Mm-hmm. Why is that one so hard to say?
That's a hard
name. Who I believe was a straight man.
I don't know.
I think he was married to a woman. But anyway,
sure.
I just think that's kind of interesting. But they're just... I love when Hector's like, I've been watching The View a lot. And they have some sound advice for Greg, and he just ignores it, as Greg is prone to do.
In fairness, if you start off a conversation with, I was watching The View, I'm no longer listening to anything you say.
Fair enough. But Darryl kind of comes in, and he's trying to, like, capitalize on his beach buds.
Yeah!
So he shows up, and he is just as awkward as Rebecca, which I think is kind of interesting. Like, there's a lot of... many of the characters about completely different things have connections. Because Darryl, like, wants to impress them, and he is so awkward about it.
It makes more sense to me that Darryl is awkward, though, because he's not really their age peer.
Right.
So he is literally trying to fit in a place where he simply just does not belong.
Yeah.
Rebecca should be able to fit into this age group.
Fair enough. But Darryl and White Josh did get...
Yeah.
They like, bonded during the beach disaster.
The gym stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and, like, we didn't even get to see the rest of the... Because they went to the beach.
Yeah.
Like, Rebecca left, but they went to the beach.
They had, presumably, a good time.
And Darryl's awkward spiral just continues. I love that he felt some sort of, like, bond with Greg enough to be like, we're talking about boxing, right?
I wondered if you knew what they were talking about.
Of course I know that pay-per-view fights are boxing.
But you know they're not always boxing.
UFC?
Yeah.
Okay.
But especially in this, like, West Covina
okay.
time frame, this is when UFC was really hot. It could have been one or the other.
That's true. Well, then it's funny, they're like, when he says, oh yeah, I was going to watch it, you should come over. And then they're all like, this is so boring.
Well, it's because the undercard. So that, I mean, not that you watch boxing, but, like, boxing is a sport that is completely sold by the main event. Mm-hmm. And usually the undercard fights are not things that casual people care about. You want to watch Tyson versus Lennox Lewis. You don't want to watch two fighters you've never heard of slug at each other.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, excuse me.
Boxing bored you so much.
It bored me so much that I had to yawn.
Just thinking about watching boxing.
And then they say they want girls to be there. And Darryl Googles how to get girls to a party. And he pays a lot of money to get call girls to a party.
Now, I was going to ask that question because I don't know that those were call girls. I thought they were, but it actually sounded like they were there to do specifically what they did, which was essentially class up a party and have professional women there. And, like, it didn't seem like any of them were propositioning the boys to try to sleep with them. In fact, it seemed like they were just there, sometimes, most of the time, talking to each other. They were just there to be scenery.
Yeah, and that actually could be true. It makes sense that it seemed like they're, like, actresses.
Yes.
That they hire. Mm-hmm. it would not surprise me if this company also has a call girl arm that some of these women participate in. But I think you're right. It was casting for a party.
I also assumed that because it's Darryl and he's awkward, he absolutely would end up hiring call girls or hookers. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that it seems like these were just, and actresses make a ton of sense here. Like, just go be there in the background of a party.
Well, and if you think about the parallel to when Rebecca throws a party so that Josh will come over, she, tries to find people to come to the party. I'm actually surprised that she didn't think of hiring people, but it was very late. Although this was pretty quick. He got them over in a half an hour.
I would say the difference, though, is that his goal was to just hang out with his buddies. She was trying to specifically just grab a person's attention, so maybe he was able to be more calm, because he's not, in love with them.
Right.
Rebecca's a little bit out of her mind when it comes to, I gotta get Josh to fall in love with me.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I don't know that. That's purely speculation, of course.
And I feel like Waijo and Darryl really bonded further, both during the party and after. At first, I thought that Waijo was making fun of Darryl about the coasters. Same. He was genuinely serious about the coasters.
Yeah, he was like, can we, please pay? I was like, that's hilarious.
And then they talked about the wet bathroom, which is the thing that I too have experienced at a party. Why are bathrooms always wet? What are people doing in there?
I'm going to be honest, I thought it was a joke on how men miss the toilet.
Oh, that could be. But also, the sink is always wet. There's just water, not in the sink, but, around the sink.
Well, that makes sense. People splash when they wash their hands and stuff.
Why?
That's just... that happens at, your works bathroom. That's pretty common.
Okay. Also at this party, Greg runs into Ashley, who apparently he's had a crush on forever.
Who we had never heard of before.
Right, we've never heard of her before.
Yeah.
I think that...
I just want to make sure we had not heard this name before.
No, we have not heard this name before. This is also an interesting parallel, interested in a person from high school.
In love with the girl.
I don't think that Greg has been thinking about this girl every day.
I think he had a crush on her, forgot about her, and still had a crush on her since kindergarten, I think.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Greg being Greg, if he thinks often about I was the downtrodden and all of the other dumb jocks and whatever she says.
The jerks and dumb jocks.
The jerks and dumb jocks. They got her. But one of my favorite parts was when he was trying to get her to remember him because she doesn't remember him. He starts listing off some things and I was like, oh my God, you're Rebecca. He was in math club. He was student body president. He even makes some joke about he couldn't get anything done because of his lame duck student council.
They are very similar.
They are very similar. Do you have anything else about the B plot here?
I will say, I thought it was kind of funny to see, because we only really interact with the guys, Greg and friends, typically centered around Josh and Valencia.
Yep.
So this is the first time that we kind of separated them from that group. And, they seem to have a pretty good dynamic. There doesn't seem to be any hostility. But it was kind of fascinating to see them all, and these are 2 or 3, depending on how you feel about Greg, pretty good-looking men, intimidated by these women at this party, to the point when they do a bit when Ashley's coming over, and he's like, oh gosh, she's coming over, look away. Okay, she's not coming over, we're fine. Oh, she's coming over, and even Waijo, who's objectively attractive, is like, okay, I just gotta spin away. It's hilarious to see that, oh, you're all back in high school, but you guys were probably popular in high school. So, yeah, that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Also, I love that Ashley is like, oh, you're white Josh, where you look like Josh Chan, who I still have a crush on to this day. And the look on Greg's face, he's just like,
this is my life. This is my whole life. And now I'm obviously attracted to you. Even more than I was before.
Because now you're ignoring me.
And then white Josh kisses Darryl on the cheek. And Darryl does not know what to make of that.
I mean, it wasn't uber weird.
No.
It's not a thing I would do.
It was just a lean in to say goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah. Italians I know do that, so that's not super uncommon on all cultures and men. But definitely Darryl's like, oh. And in the future episode, he's going to try and fuck it up and accidentally kiss him on the mouth or something weird. That was funny, though. I like that because it played really well into the A-plot's kiss on the cheek. No, I thought that party was funny. Also, nothing wild happened at the party in the sense that, Nobody got propositioned for sex.
No.
Nobody embarrassed themselves. Because I definitely thought there was going to be like this big reveal of like, oh, I paid for all these girls. And it's actually just kind of just like dropped casually at the end of the night conversation. Not a big deal. Everybody had a good time.
I think that White Josh, I think that he feels a little bad for Darryl, but he also likes him.
He had a look. He was like, oh. And then, but I mean, it wasn't like a super, like if this were Rebecca, this would have been a cringeworthy, Frasier-like party where everything is a disaster, as opposed to like, it was kind of funny, but it was calm.
Well, I also think that Josh is sort of now like, oh, I can just reach out to Darryl and like, he doesn't have to do this. Like we can just be friends. It's okay.
I like White Josh. You said I'm going to like him a lot.
White Josh is going to be your favorite character.
I can believe that. White Josh and Greg are A and B right now, so.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the B plot.
Do we ever see Ashley again?
I don't remember.
So probably not.
I guess we didn't really talk about Heather and Greg, which is related to but separate from the
I was going to
B-plot.
touch on a separate note, but that's fair.
Because Greg's arc
is,
includes the B plot.
Yeah, the B plot really is occurring because of what happened. Like his is the genesis of the B plot.
But yeah, so I loved Heather's delivery of when she's trying to tell Greg that she really likes him. She says, "I have butterflies. Can you not tell?" Because it's interesting because she too is grossed out by like sappy stuff, but she also can be like honest. Like she's like, I like you. I don't want to talk about like roses and candles and whatever, but like put your emotional robe back on, Greg. What?
Oh, I could go into this long rant about it's hilarious that as men you hear women constantly complaining about like, why don't you ever talk about your emotion? And then you run into women like this who are like, ew, put that away. What is wrong with you? And you're like, what do you want from me?
I mean, I think everyone is different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think, like, Darryl, for example, seems like a person that would be very into talking about feelings and roses and candles and whatever.
Sure. However, as much as I agree with you on the everyone is different, we are unfortunately not all judged differently. We usually judge on a standardized scale.
Yeah, that's true. So Greg just freaks out and breaks up with Heather.
Yeah, that was an escalation that shocked me because it literally cuts to the next scene of him in the bar. And he's like, yeah, I told him when you start seeing other people. And I was like, whoa.
And it feels like, based on Hector and White Josh's reactions, that this happens a lot.
They didn't seem like, I can't believe you did that. And I was like, yeah, you did that again.
Yeah. And then he, like, really connects with Ashley. Like, this is his dream. He finally connected with her. She seems genuinely nice. Mm-hmm. Like, they have a rapport. Mm-hmm. Despite her, like, not remembering him initially. And then she asked him something that freaks him out.
No, she says, you're really nice. You're the kind of guy that someone could settle down with. And he immediately is like, what? And you're just like, oh, dude, you have a problem.
And I appreciate that instead of just, like, either continuing to, like, not dating her at all, he finally realizes that he has a problem. Because he doesn't even want the person that he's wanted for his whole life. And he goes back to Heather, which I think is some growth. And he picks up a book that has a really funny name.
Yes. The thing I like about Greg, and this has been a couple episodes, is that even when he is presented with like a clear flaw that is his fault, he gets the message a lot quicker than I think other people in the show do. So like, his mom was a perfect example of like, he painted her as this like evil, awful villain that constantly mocked him and belittled him. And then it was like, yeah, man, this is actually a you thing. This is fantastic. And he's like, you know what? You're right. He didn't go through this big stage of denial. It was just like, I'm the problem here. Mm-hmm. Yep, you're an asshole. Same thing here. Like, Heather was not like squeezing you. And you you got a problem. You need to work on it. Like, good job. Good character growth here.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Anything else that is not the Josh and Rebecca plot?
I liked the Hector and White Josh armchair psychologizing Greg. That's just funny.
It was great.
That is not a thing I think most men do other than to be sarcastic, but pretty damn funny. I am curious why they didn't bring up the mom issues thing, because this is a very similar concept to what he was going through before. Like, he doesn't see that he is the problem at first, and then kind of realized at the end that the problem wasn't the other person, it was him. It's like literally the same thing to me.
Well, they did not say mom directly, but when he finally figures out his shit, he does say, I'm afraid of commitment because I'm afraid that I will commit and then they will leave.
Which I'm assuming is alluding to his mom.
Yeah.
But we even figured out, like, he says that, like, it wasn't actually that she left, is that I didn't want to leave Dad.
Yeah.
So, like, even that was made up in his head.
But I can't, I mean, he was young. He was a kid.
He was, sure.
And that's not a fun position to be in, like, regardless of the situation.
No. That's totally fair.
It's
just that, like, what he is afraid of, I guess the abandonment
It didn't actually happen.
Exactly. Like, it didn't go that way. You just kind of created this scenario in your own head that has haunted you for your entire life.
Yeah.
Okay, other than that, that is the last thing. I liked the B-plot a lot. I thought this was one of the
I like the B-plot a ton. Okay. My favorite character in this episode was Nikki/Samantha.
The big girl?
Yep. I love when she just looks Rebecca in the face and says, I played a win. And I was like, yes. I mean, I too played a win, Nikki.
I did not understand that game.
I don't know what they were doing. Like, were they trying to tag each other? Only one person it?
He said elbow tag, but then there was the linking of the arms, and I swear some of the other groups looked like they had more than 2 people.
So, was it more than one group or just one group that had more than 2 people? Because it would make sense to me if one group was it, and then when they touch someone, the line gets bigger.
So it's like a caterpillar. Like it just grows.
But I agree that didn't seem like what was happening. And also, playing tag in a field, that's boring. You have to, like, play where you can hide and shit.
No, that's called hide and seek. Tag is literally a game you play in the open.
Well, that's not fun.
It is if you like running. At camp, and you're a teenager, and your joints don't hurt.
All right, fine.
Like, what you're describing is hide and seek, and I love hide and seek. But tag is literally a game where you just run around and just tag each other.
Well, I was usually reading, so...
Even in gym class?
We didn't usually play tag in gym class. We did weird shit, like sit on those little scooters that had 4 wheels, and then you would, like, put reins on a person that was actually a jump rope, and they would pull you around. Did you not do that?
No. I played sports games.
Yeah, we also played, like, dodgeball and capture the flag.
Dodgeball, capture the flag, tag, basketball.
Basketball, yeah.
Football. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I don't remember doing
We played hockey. Medic, we played hockey.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Reminiscing about elementary school gym class.
I also liked when he throws out the line that they peaked in high school, and now they're... What did he say? It was like they're in...
Who's...
Now, Greg, talking about the jocks and the jerks, and he says they peaked and now they're in prison or something like that. And I was like, as someone who went to his reunion, I think last year, I was like, oh yeah, when you see the popular kids for the first time in 20 years, you're like, oh, high school was definitely your best years.
Coming soon, what you missed while you were popular. It's actually season 4, so...
So it's not really coming soon?
No.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, A-plot?
Yeah. Okay. Josh, I agree that Josh is lacking in ambition.
Yeah, I agree.
I do not think that the problem is that Josh volunteers to help underprivileged kids and once a year goes to camp.
So here's the thing I will say about this. It is nice that we finally did a proper job of villainizing Valencia.
Mm-hmm.
So... Because before, we were basically like, oh, this girl is trying to stand in the way of Rebecca, and Josh is like, well, that's her boyfriend. Like, I don't blame her. This is Valencia just being a bitch.
Yeah.
She's belittling him, demeaning him. She's being an awful person here. And what he is doing is objectively, it is simply a good thing that any good person should at the very least be okay with someone else doing if you don't want to do it yourself.
And it could lead to a job. Like, it could lead, like it could lead to lots of things.
Yeah,
and
maybe
he genuinely enjoys it, and it doesn't seem like it takes up that much of his time.
But it doesn't make the money she wants. And what she actually only cares about...
is money.
I think what she says is when our kids don't have shoes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's also very manipulative. Like, you really see that side of her come out here. I mean, I think that you actually see Josh kind of have that look on his face, like, oh, I think he's starting to realize that this is not the right girl for him.
Mm-hmm. Well, because he feels like she doesn't believe in him.
She doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not a feels like. It's objectively true.
And then he gets, like, initially he thinks that letter that Rebecca was writing was funny, because it was dramatic and weird.
It is funny.
Yeah. But it also was, like, touching, especially at the end. And he like, sort of has yet another, like, oh, Rebecca believes in me and Valencia doesn't.
Well, and I think that's the difference, is that, like, Rebecca has, she helped him get the job. And even if she kind of did it herself, right? Like, she's genuinely concerned with Josh being happy and getting to do the thing he wants to do. Valencia is concerned with one thing, and it's doing what she wants to do.
Yeah, I did think that is a really good point, because I think that Rebecca does actually, in some ways, she puts Josh on a pedestal.
Massively.
But she also, like, she doesn't suggest that he get a job as, like, a lawyer. Like, she's like, oh, you want to work at Aloha Tech? That seems like a good job. Let's get you that job.
She likes Josh for who Josh is.
Yeah.
Valencia likes Josh for who Josh could be. And it's funny, when I was watching, I was like, this is literally the thing that I hate about many of our characters in the other show that we do podcasts on. They don't like the character for who they are. They like him for, like, the potential. And I was like, well, just go be with someone else then. And it, like, from this side, you're like, yeah, Valencia, like, why are you with Josh? Other than the fact that he's attractive, you clearly don't like anything about, like, who he is. I don't think she likes his friends. She doesn't like his job. She doesn't like his hobbies. Like, besides physical attraction, is there a single thing that Valencia likes about Josh? She doesn't like his family. His family can't stand her.
I do not understand it. Yeah, when she says, I believe that one day you will focus on our future instead of fun stuff. And like, it's not, like, I understand that, Josh should, like, he has a job now, but he didn't have a job for a while. Like, that was not good.
I mean, he was fine, right? Like, they didn't live together, so it's not.
Yes.
He was just he's not ambitious, and I think that bothers Valencia.
Yes. But also, like, fun stuff that is volunteering to help underprivileged kids.
Well, it is fun. He gets to go. Yeah. He genuinely likes it, and, like, being with Valencia does not sound fun. She's pretty intense. There's probably one thing that's fun with Valencia, and that's about it.
Yeah. Then we get a lot of awkward Rebecca. So much awkward Rebecca. So much. And it actually, like, it's, like, that's so cringy. And then Josh's response to it is sometimes very cringy, because he just is sort of like, haha, that's so funny. And I'm like, don't you think it's weird?
That what?
Like, just when Rebecca is being really, like, cringy and weird, he sort of, like, acts like she's putting on a show that's on purpose. Like, he thinks that she's doing it on purpose.
I mean, for someone like Josh, who I think being cool is relatively effortless,
yeah,
it's probably like, oh, you're screwing around. Because, I mean, to him, why would anyone act like that if they weren't going for that response?
I also love, this is just, like, such a thing that I would do. Josh tells Rebecca that he wants to get more likes per post, and she doesn't even know what that means. And then she literally reads an article about it and comes up with a plan. She researches. She uses the power of research to figure out a way to connect with Josh.
You've mentioned this to me many times. Apparently there are people out there who do not want you to solve their problems when they complain to you about them. I have nothing in common with those people because that makes no sense to me. I would love Rebecca-like friends. Please, to all my friends, if I'm complaining about a problem and you have a real solution, not like get over it because that's not a solution, but like you want to do research and solve my problem for it, be my fucking guest. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great friend. This is the best thing Rebecca does. She uses research and solves this problem.
Mm-hmm. Also the ongoing joke about Blowy Point is just hilarious.
Okay, so I understand teenage Rebecca not getting it. But Rebecca's an adult who's presumably had sex multiple times.
Especially more than once. She had sex with Josh at camp.
Yeah. Like, I just can't imagine. And it's not like this is like some subtle teen slang that maybe you're just like antiquated and don't understand. It's called Blowy Point. There is only one thing this is going to possibly mean.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
I don't know. One of my favorite Blowy Point jokes was when she is in the nurse's office because she had anaphylactic shock from mosquito bites. And she gets up to leave and she says, I have to go to Blowy Point to make a boy love me. Immediately after they were talking about the female empowerment lecture.
So this is, I think, the second time where I feel like they've done this kind of funny thing where they have talked about I think it was Women Gotta Stick Together was the last one, where it's like they're making a point of a thing, but making it very clear that none of the women involved actually believe this thing. And like the whole, I think it was the song even too, was like, put yourself first, but do all of these things for the male gaze.
I actually think that I like the Women Gotta Stick Together song better because I think it's like funnier and there's like I like it more as a song.
Sure.
I think that this song is more effective at what that song was trying to do, which is that like we tell ourselves that we dress up for ourselves and we go out for, but like it's really about men and the male gaze.
I mean, I think that is 100% true here. I think that's also 100% true in the other one as well. We tell ourselves we're going to stick together, but we're just going to dog each other behind their backs.
I feel like that was like a...
Because it's also coming from Valencia, who does that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no loyalty. Like, these hoes ain't loyal. It's literally about her.
Yeah. It was also very sad when she was reading the letter to him, and he like thinks it's funny, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you were so dramatic and weird," and she just has this like, "I'm still so dramatic and weird," and it's like really sad.
You could be not so dramatic and weird.
Yep.
But she's not gonna.
Yep, and then yep, I'm gonna leave that one for later.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
Do you have other things? I kind of talked about my likes and dislikes together.
Oh, you got all your notes?
Except for lines, yes.
Okay. So, Rebecca remembering that she's a fucking rich lawyer and just throwing her money around to get what she wants.
How much money do you think it was?
I bet it was like $10,000. Like, I love the woman who's like, when we say like, can you help us? What we really just meant was give us some money. For some reason, we can't say that. Rebecca's like, oh, I can do that. And then gives her money, and she looks at the check, and she's like, oh, you're in. Like, come on. Why didn't she just lead with that? Like, you want to get here? Here's how much it costs.
I do think that there's something that we should be worried about, which is Rebecca used to be rich because Rebecca used to make a bunch of money.
Sure.
And she told Darryl that she would come here and work for super cheap.
Yeah, but I mean, what's super cheap relative to, like, let's say she was making $500,000 a year. If she's making $100,000 a year, that's still good money in West Covina.
It's definitely still good money, but I don't know if it's still, I can throw $10,000 around whenever I want money.
I don't know how much money she saved up also.
That's
she has
true.
Minimal expenses.
That's true.
No children. I mean, like, she has a car.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's not exactly paying high rent for her super luxurious, I could see her having more than enough money.
Yeah.
Also, would it surprise you if Darryl isn't actually paying her super cheap because he has no ability to negotiate properly?
That's possible, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, she could have said like, "I'm worth $1 million, so just give me $500,000 and we'll call it even." He's like, "That's awesome! I'd save 50%." That seems like a Darryl move.
You get Darryl.
I do get Darryl. Oh, okay, Rebecca. I understand that when you were a little girl, you weren't cool. I understand that right now you're not cool, and that's fair. You cannot be intimidated by these teenage girls. I coach high school boys. It'll be a cold day in hell before I let some 14-year-old boys intimidate me. Nope. Just not gonna fucking happen. Like, I'm 3 times your age? Fuck off. You just aren't going to bully me. In any way, shape, or form, that's just not gonna happen. These are underprivileged girls. You are a successful lawyer. You bully people in the courtroom and you're getting bullied by teenage girls.
Yep. Although, full circle on the Women Gotta Stick Together, this song,
Sure.
Bullied by Teenage Girls.
Sure.
When it really matters, they do try to help.
Yeah, I guess if your argument is that, like, after they bully her into submission, then they do try to resolve the problem because they didn't realize the consequences of their actions. I don't know that I give you much credit for setting the house on fire and then grabbing a fire hose because you realize you can't contain the fire, but I hear you.
They're like invested, they like actually like Rebecca now. They're invested in the situation with Josh.
Yeah.
They follow him up to Blowy Point.
Yeah. I don't disagree with anything that you said, but still, you let teenage girls bully you.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, she's rich. She doesn't need to put up with this.
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about the girl in the box?
Yeah, Chloe. First off, why were you trapped in a box?
it seems, I'm not sure. I think there aren't more details because more details would not be allowed.
Correct. I 100% agree with you on that one. If I find out more, it's probably not going to get past the censors.
Yeah. And it seems like she's now empowered and has put her captor in a box.
So, I was kind of thinking like, I think she took the empowerment of, you put me in a box. I'm going to put you in a box. Because that guy, and she's like feeding him almonds when he says it right.
After questions about the wage gap. I'm concerned about Chloe.
Is that a play on the fact that there might be a decent amount of people who don't really want equality but just want to flip the oppression?
Maybe. Anything else on that or other things?
The letter. Well, why was the letter so important?
I think that Rebecca knows that Josh too loved high school.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And she's hoping that if she reads it to him, he will feel the same way about her as he used to.
Okay.
I don't know that it was ever going to be. It did sort of work, just not in the way that she thought it was going to.
Yeah.
It made him feel good, and it made them feel connected.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was just like she was hyper fixated on this like letter.
Well, and Paula was like, no.
Well, the letter's cringy, and also, obviously, why would you read that to someone and think that's not weird? But it did make Josh feel good. Like you said, different way. Like, I think also the kind of sad's not the right word, but you talk about this all the time in TV shows where it's like, it would be nice if we could just have male and females be friends as opposed to like romantic love interests. It is kind of sad that Josh is super happy that his good friend from high school is the one that's making him feel good about who he is as a person, and her motive is purely just to be with him.
Yeah.
Like, it's the inverse of kind of the usual, like, guys in a friend zone in love with the girl, so he makes her feel good hoping that that's going to work. We just flipped that dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am not here. I am not on Team Josh. There will later be teams, and I am not team.
There will later teams! Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like the Twilight thing? Like, there's team vampire, team teams. Werewolf? There are teams.
There's teams.
Okay. Yeah, so that was like one of those, like, I guess it's just one of those things that ultimately leads to my last point. Why can't Rebecca ever learn the lesson? Everyone else in the show learned a lesson by the end of it. Greg takes one episode to do it. Rebecca can take an episode. Or not Rebecca, Heather. Everybody else seems to be capable of learning a thing in an episode. And Rebecca's, I feel like, exactly where we left her when we started the episode.
She's not ready yet. She hasn't put in the time with Dr. Akopian yet. Anything else for best lines? I have a lot.
No, I don't have anything else we need to get into before best lines. I have 4.
Okay, I'll start.
How many do you have? Is this like a me with Rumple top 10 lines?
8?
Oh, it's not as bad as I worried. Okay.
We already talked about one of them.
Okay.
The infertility one.
Infertility.
The rash
it didn't make me
yeah.
infertile. I'm disappointed it didn't.
When Darryl is ordering the girls for the party, and he says, "Oh, well, it's local. That's good for the economy."
Is he wrong though?
No, not wrong. Not wrong. I'm not even sure what to make of this, but it does. I have literally heard people say this in real life, so I guess I'm proud of this TV show for throwing it out. It's not like I've been Googling mixed race babies. They're so cute. They're so much cuter than the plain ones.
Yeah, I've heard that far more.
Yeah.
Far too much in my life.
Yep.
It's even weirder when girlfriend's parents start saying it to you.
Yeah, that's not good.
Definitely raise an eyebrow and you're like, oh, I'm a breeding horse.
Speaking of bad things.
Bad things?
When Paula says, your morals are not up to code, honey.
That was... the moment she said that, I was just like...
And I like that Paula she's not even really saying it as like a judgment. She's
It's
like,
just a fact.
My morals too are not up to code. That's why we're friends, Rebecca. But like, don't pretend.
Paula has let go of the moral high ground a long time ago, and I think Rebecca is like, no, I'm doing the right thing, and Paula's like, honey, stop it. Mm-hmm. You're a bad person.
When one of the camp girls, when they're making fun of her about Blowy Point, and she says, Blowy Point, so windy it knocks you to your knees, and Rebecca still doesn't get it.
I don't know. I have a hard time believing that an adult would struggle to figure this out as much as she's struggling to figure this out.
Yeah.
But again, maybe it's just because she was never popular and she missed this.
Yeah. We didn't talk about this when we were talking about the B plot, like the friends bonding. Mm-hmm. But I really liked when Greg was like, this is fun. We should spend more time in drum circles and chopping wood. And I'm like, Greg, you don't want to do any of those things.
So it actually almost felt like a bit of a mockery of the women empowerment thing. Like he was almost doing this male empowerment thing. Yeah. And I was like, why are you... Like you said, you don't want to do that. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, and like they weren't... I mean, you explained that but they never went back to watch the fight. They were bored with the fight. They got together to do the man thing to watch the fight. And they were actually having more fun with girls, which... Fine. But also when they were just, like, talking about Greg's relationship.
I mean, having girls is more fun than not having girls 90% of the time when you're single. Yeah, but I think the whole point was that, like, they actually just enjoyed each other's company. Yeah. They didn't need to have a fight to hang out. But a lot of guys do believe that you just have to have, like, a thing you're doing as opposed to, like, we just want to hang.
Yeah. And then lastly, when Heather and Greg get back together and he leaves the book on the park bench and she runs back and says, no, you need this.
Is she wrong?
Nope. Do you have others?
You missed one of my lines, and I'm surprised you don't have it because it's a very Chelsea line. It's actually very sweet, and it's at the very end when Josh is talking to Rebecca at Blowy Point, and he talks about, you never tried to change me.
Aww.
Which is like, yep, that's red flag. Like, red flag. You have now accepted that your current girlfriend is trying to change you.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yep.
Before we jump into favorite moment, we didn't really talk about... We talked about Put Yourself First. The, like, Spice Girls, maybe? Girl power anthem.
Couldn't figure out if it was Spice Girls, Destiny's Child, like something. One of those girl groups. I'll look it up, actually, while you're talking.
We have two other songs. Dear Joshua Felix Chan, which is the letter. It's kind of split across two songs. And then Having a Few People Over. I don't know if that... I guess it's a song. It's like a dance.
It's a techno rave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. I liked it.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. I don't know that I have a favorite song.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
It is easily Put Yourself First.
Okay.
Because of just... They kind of skewer the message that they were trying to mockingly, I guess, give. Oh, yeah, put on the fake eyelashes, or wear the 6-inch heels.
No, fake eyelids.
Oh. I heard eyelashes. I didn't even know it was... That's why she said, what is this eyelid thing? I didn't know fake eyelids were a thing. I don't know if that's a man thing. I don't think
that's a thing.
I don't even want to know. That's terrifying.
Yep.
But yeah, like, it did a really good job of kind of making fun of that whole thing. And it was also like this ridiculous thing of like, yeah, you're lying to yourself. I also love that the photographer was literally male gaze.
Yeah.
Like, it was right on the nose.
That is definitely the best part of the song.
Fifth Harmony, it's actually...
Fifth Harmony.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite moment, I have 3, 2, and a concept.
Hold on, before we move on, the song that we both like is apparently making fun of that guy in the male gaze. It's a parody of a photographer who was a fashion guy who made his name taking salacious photos and has been accused of sexual misconduct towards his female models.
Nice
little dig there.
That's a good dig. Yeah. I like that.
Okay. Favorite moments?
I have 2.5. We already talked about one, but Greg shaking his head when Ashley says that she's always had a crush on Josh Chan, and you can see how frustrated he is by that and how attracted he is to her because of that.
Yeah. Kind of sad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Josh standing up to Valencia.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
He was like, no, this was not my last year at camp. I'm going to do it.
So when they first started the conversation and she's like, I can't believe you were talking to me like this, I thought she was getting turned on.
Yeah, so did I.
I was definitely speaking like, oh, this is definitely going to be one of those things of like, oh my God, I love this, let's go have sex. And then she was actually pissed.
Yeah.
Which made it way more funny.
And then just the jokes. So many jokes in this episode. I was here for the jokes.
So many jokes. Josh stands up for himself was one, and then I love why Joe and Darryl's dynamic. That was hilarious.
I think that's a good one. I think we probably have the same most ridiculous moment. Rebecca totally breaking down crying at her female empowerment lecture.
It's not the most ridiculous moment. That is very on brand for Rebecca. Go ahead and say yours.
I mean, I didn't say it wasn't on brand.
Yeah.
It was just really, really bad.
When I say mine, you're going to realize that mine was more ridiculous. So I want you to say yours first.
Okay.
Explain it.
I mean, I don't know that it was pretty, she was trying to empower women, and she breaks down over a man in front of teenage girls. And then they're mean to her, and then it gets worse.
And then they rally around her.
Yep. And tell her to be sexy for herself.
For herself. All good points, all ridiculous.
Put yourself first in a sexy way.
Put yourself first in a sexy way. None of those things were as ridiculous as Chloe trapping that man in the box.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because, you go, girl. I'm here for it. That might have been a step too far.
Yep.
But,
I'm worried that she's a sociopath. And I'm also worried about this man in the box. Like, don't get me wrong. Man in the box needs to be arrested.
Yeah, I'm worried about the man in the box. Like, maybe if she's just trapping the man in the box, that's okay. I don't know that it's going to stop here. Like, you might have uncovered something that maybe should have stayed covered.
Yeah, like, if you want to trap the man in the box for a day before you call the police, fine. Or you trap the man in the box so that you can call the police.
Yeah, sure. Great. Totally fine. Just let's make sure this doesn't turn into a Silence of the Lambs situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my most ridiculous moment. It was also a really funny, end of episode, little, I love that they hit back on a good joke.
Yeah, me too.
I got 2 losers, 2 winners.
I have 1 loser and 2.5 winners.
Okie dokie. I'm very curious to see who your loser is.
My loser is Rebecca.
Yeah, obviously.
She didn't learn the thing.
Nope.
And she went into anaphylactic shock, which, even if everything else was awesome about this episode, that's not fun.
And the things on her body looked really bad.
It was really bad. And Josh made her feel really sad. She eventually felt pretty good about it later. But I don't think ultimately it was good for her.
I concur 100%. Yeah, that was not a good episode for her. There's one more loser here, though.
Okay.
Valencia.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yep, I will agree with that.
I will allow that is what you were going with in your brain the first time, wasn't it?
Yep. I will allow that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Valencia is very used to Josh basically, dance monkey. Mm-hmm. And for the first time, Josh went, fuck you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do what makes me happy. And I don't think she likes that. I don't think she enjoys being told I can't get exactly everything I want.
Yeah. Well, on that vein, one of my winners is Josh.
Yes. From a more deep level, too.
Yeah.
He definitely found, you've always believed in me. Now, oddly enough, it's not what Rebecca was intending to do, but it did work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, he's genuinely happy that someone enjoys and values the values that he has.
Yeah. And then he stood up to her, and he's going to keep doing a thing that he thinks is important and fun.
Seems all like victories to me.
That's good. My second winner is Greg.
Greg was an interesting one for me. So I almost had him as a loser, and then I pulled him back off the loser. I almost had him as a winner, and I pulled him off of the winner, and I kind of landed on neutral. I agree with you that he gained a lot here, so I don't have a problem with him being the winner. It did seem a little concerning to me that he kind of hadn't learned enough from the mom lesson, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But he course corrects quick enough that I'm not against him being a winner here. And he did get back with Heather.
It was very encouraging to me that he went back to Heather and didn't pursue Ashley.
So that was the thing that I really thought was, because I thought he
Yeah.
was going to pursue Ashley, and then I was like, yeah, but like once you realize that the smart move was to go back to Heather.
And not that I think that he and Ashley could be good together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just, like, he has a good thing with Heather.
There's also some issues that, like, the fact that he is, as you said, the fact that he was still super attracted to Ashley because she does, like, there is something about him that is still fundamentally broken that I don't think he even realized yet. Like, why are you into the girls who don't know who the hell you are?
Yeah.
So, like, that part is still a little bothersome to me. Okay. My other winner is actually Darryl.
He was my question mark.
Oh, okay.
I would fully agree. Winner, like, he threw a party that he was pretending that he was having already, sort of.
I think he just said he was going to watch the fight already.
Yeah.
He didn't say he was having a
But
party.
he bonded with his people, specifically White Josh, and he had a great time, and they are definitely friends now. I think, like, the ambiguity around the cheek kiss, and Darryl's just, when Rebecca is talking to Paula about the way that Josh kissed her on the cheek, and Darryl's like, what does it mean? What does it mean when someone does that? I'm like, I think that Darryl's in a little bit of a, he's not quite sure what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's more funny, but I don't think anything bad.
No, it's not bad. Yeah, I just thought it was
It's a farcical situation that's interesting to watch, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Darryl had a party that, like, in situations like this, if you watch the sitcoms, it's always a disaster. Something really terrible happens, they do something really stupid, and, like, nothing bad actually happened at all. Like, he paid a lot of money for a bunch of, not call girls like we thought, just actresses, had a party, bonded with his friends, got a new friend out of it. I don't know, it feels like a win to me here.
Yeah.
I got no issues with that.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Going into this season, did you expect to be naming Rebecca a loser as much as you have?
100%.
You knew this was coming, because obviously I have not watched this before.
100%.
Okay, so this was like part of the plan. This is the downward spiral.
Becca's journey is long.
Clearly. Clearly.
So the next episode is episode 11. That text was not meant for Josh. Which, even, like, such a relatable thing. Like, who has not accidentally sent a text or an email to the wrong person? You've never sent a text or an email to the wrong person.
Certainly, maybe I've sent an well, I've sent an email to, like, there are a couple people who have the same name.
Okay.
Whereas, like, I just didn't know that. So I was sending it to who I thought was the right person. Maybe I've sent a text to the wrong, I don't think, not like a meaningful text. Like, maybe I've, like, been typing something on my computer and then I still have my messages pulled up. But I've never been, like, trying to text Jen. I guess I've done that in the friend group, but, like, never, like, what I know this is like. I've never, like, I've never had a text message that I didn't want someone to get that got out, which I'm assuming is what this is.
Who do you think the text message was for?
Paula.
Yeah. This is going to be bad.
I know it is. You know why? Because that's a very typical Rebecca thing to be talking about something like how much she loves Josh Chan, when really you should just not be saying that out loud because someone might overhear you.
I mean, texting it is not as bad if you text it to the correct person as talking about it at the boba place where Josh goes all the time.
Well, no, I'd definitely rather it be talked about than texted in there because plausible deniability exists with a talking text message. There's like infinite proof forever. So that feels a lot worse.
Okay. Well, please be sure to join us next time when we watch Season 1, Episode 11. That text was not meant for Josh.
Sigh, and we will see you next time.